Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Lenten prayer and yoga practice. This is a very special time of day. You might be wondering as you get up every morning and the sun is not anywhere thinking of getting up, why are we doing this so early? And the reality is that among all major religions, there is a very sacred time pre-dawn, where the veil between the spiritual world and our world is very thin. And we come in that space and in that time to really bring our hearts in a very open fashion to be connected with God. So as I have this quote from the Book of Wisdom, "When peaceful silence lay over all, and when night had run halfway her swift course, down from the heavens, from the royal throne, leapt your all-powerful word." So in a very special way, the divine word and presence enters our world in silence and in the dark of night. So here we are in the dark of night, our 21st day of practice in Lent. So after Jesus was baptized, he went into the desert for 40 days. He went there to pray, to fast, and to develop a more intimate relationship with God. And in our liturgical year, we do very much the same thing. We reflect back on Jesus' time in the desert. We had a reading a couple of days ago of Elijah and how he was called into the wilderness for 40 days to do the work of God. And at Lent, we also set aside 40 days in our very busy lives to prepare ourselves for Easter, but also to be making this huge commitment of getting up very early in the morning and coming to do an extraordinary practice, coming to do 2 hours of spending quiet time with God, with the intention that we are consenting to his presence and action within us, with the hope that we can put our brains aside, slip below our minds, and really have a true, real experience of the divine with our hearts open. This experience will and is transforming us slowly but surely every day. And we can all see this whether we're doing this practice here in this beautiful sanctuary or at home watching the videos. It is a very transformative process, and we are all affected. So our first practice this morning will be Lectio Divina. In Lectio Divina, we are reflecting back on an old ancient practice that the desert mothers and fathers used in the 3rd and 4th century, and they still use in monasteries today to read scripture. And it's a special kind of reading scripture. We put our analytical minds aside, and we really come to the scripture with a very open heart. I'll read the scripture 4 times. And in between or after each reading, we'll have some silent time where you can just sort of rest in the scripture reading. It's almost as if we are having a conversation with Christ, and he is supplying the topics for us to chew on. So as you hear the reading the first time, with an open heart, see what word or phrase really resonates for you, and hold on to that phrase or that word. And then on a second reading, just let that word resonate with you in your heart, and just see how it makes you feel, where it takes you. On a third reading, you may be at a point where you want to respond to that word or phrase. And that response could be an emotional response. It could be a prayer of praise, a prayer of forgiveness for someone, whatever comes up in your heart, that just keep responding to your heart's response. And then finally on the fourth reading, we'll have some time to just rest in the arms of the divine. So the reading today is from Corinthians. I'm going to be using the Message Bible translation, which I often use because it resonates for me. I think before we read, we'll chant, and then we'll do the Lectio Divina with the reading. The chant is Psalm 46, verse 10. Please join me in this chant, and let's begin. Be still and know I am God. Be still and know I am. Be still and know. Be still. Be still and know I am God. Be still and know I am. Be still and know. Be still. Be still and know I am God. Be still and know I am. Be still and know. Be still. Be still and know I am God. Be still and know I am. Be still and know. Be still. So the reading this morning is from 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verses 16 through 17. And the theme of today's reading is that you are the temple. You realize, don't you, that you are the temple of God, and God Himself is present in you. No one will get by with vandalizing God's temple. You can be sure of that. God's temple is sacred, and you, remember, are the temple. You realize, don't you, that you are the temple of God, and God Himself is present in you. No one will get by with vandalizing God's temple. You can be sure of that. God's temple is sacred, and you, remember, are the temple. You realize, don't you, that you are the temple of God, and God Himself is present in you. No one will get by with vandalizing God's temple. You can be sure of that. God's temple is sacred, And you, remember, are the temple. You realize, don't you, that you are the temple of God, and God Himself is present in you. No one can get by with vandalizing God's temple. You can be sure of that. God's temple is sacred, and you, remember, are the temple.